What's up everyone? You may have seen this trending video in the last week or two. In fact, it may even be the reason you clicked on this video. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this video trending and getting so many views, I, along with the rest of the disc golf community, kind of freaked out a little bit. It had podcasts talking about it and it certainly grabbed a lot of people's attention. So far, it's got 1.2 million views in just 8 days. Wow. So today, I'm going to break down this video collaboration between Smarter Everyday and the disc golf manufacturing company MVP, starting with my initial reactions to what I saw and the important details that stood out to me as a disc golfer, and then finishing with what this could mean for disc golf moving forwards. I think a significant reason why this video grabbed so many disc golfers' attention was that as a disc golfer, you never before had seen the injection molding machines. For years, only the top players had access to this part of the company. And before then, even that wasn't the case. So for MVP to pull back the curtain and allow us regular folk to get a behind the scenes look at how they manufacture discs, that's something that had us frothing. As for the appeal for non-disc golfers, well, if you watched the Smarter Everyday video, comment down below if you watched it as a disc golfer, or if it was the first piece of disc golf related content, or even the first time you'd heard about disc golf. My guess is that it was a novel topic that people hadn't heard about, understandably, given that nobody really had. So it drew a lot of interest. What used to be a very closed-door process was made very visible and very public. Honestly, the amount that MVP showed, basically their whole process, was one of the most surprising things about this whole video. We've gotten a little bit of insight before into the disc manufacturing process from Trash Panda, who are a much smaller disc manufacturing company who make discs out of fully recycled plastic. You can check their videos out in the links in the description. But MVP are one of the leading disc manufacturers and one of the biggest companies in the sport, so it was fascinating to see their process. Ironically, their tagline is the leading edge, and that is certainly true in this case. MVP have been on the rise, going from a little known, smaller company who were really only for a specific type of hardcore fans. They called themselves the Gyronauts because of the gyroscopic technology that MVP uses, to one of the most popular and fastest growing companies in disc golf. I can speak from experience in my 4.5 years of playing that when I started, I hadn't ever heard about MVP and not many people bagged their discs. Whereas now, almost everyone has at least one MVP disc in their bag. Some people, the majority of their disc golf bag is filled with MVP discs. This rising popularity was obviously catapulted by the Holy Shot, as it's been called, which
Brad and Chad,
the brothers who co-founded MVP, very much enjoyed telling Destin in the video. This moment then allowed them to sign bigger players like Simon Lizotte and Eagle McMahon, which boosted their popularity and sales even more. It always seems like MVP is making the right moves at the right time. As Brad and Chad mentioned, they have the ability to significantly upscale their production at a moment's notice. Given the players they have on their team and the moments that happen within their company, it seems just as well this is the case. Which brings me to my next observation. Their warehouse is huge. My jaw was literally on the floor when I saw the size of it. Now, it may not be that massive compared to other just more mainstream companies and their operations, but it was impossible not to notice how many discs they had. There seemed to be rows upon rows and boxes upon boxes of discs. And yet, despite this, retailers still struggled to keep MVP discs on their shelves. It is obvious in the Smarter Everyday video that Brad and Chad are firstly two brothers who love science and then got into disc golf and then disc manufacturing. Whereas most other companies, it at least seems that they are disc golfers who then got into disc manufacturing. And I think that's something that sets MVP apart in a way. As I alluded to before, they're known for their scientific approach to disc manufacturing. In particular, what sets them apart from other companies is their use of overmold technology, which creates a gyroscopic effect to help the disc fly further. If you're looking for an explanation of how that works, that's above my level of intelligence, but stay tuned to the Smarter Everyday channel because I believe there's going to be another collaboration with MVP that goes over the physics of flight and specifically how the overmold technology helps the disc to fly further. Something that caught my attention though, and that really stuck out to me, was how this overmold technology came to be. I thought that they intentionally created it to make the disc fly further. But actually what happened was it was initially created by putting a bit of rubber around the disc to give it more friction so that when you put the disc into the chains, it catches better. And it almost seems like the effect on the flight of the disc in terms of distance was almost unintentionally discovered. And now this discovery is the foundation on which MVP is now based. Now, up to this point, you may be thinking that MVP is the only company that's making overmolded discs. And fair point, given that they were the first to do it with the Ion back in 2009. And they also have the most overmolded discs. However, to say that they are the only company using overmold technology would be incorrect. Innova, one of, if not the biggest disc manufacturer in the disc golf industry, also have incorporated overmold technology into some of their discs. These being the Nova, the Atlas, and the Avatar. Never heard of these discs? I don't blame you. When the now 6-time world champion Paul McBeth was an Innova sponsored player, he made the Nova quite popular. Now that he is on Discraft though, the Nova is rarely seen and I don't even know if it's in production anymore. As for the other two, I don't think they really took off, and again, I don't think they are still in production. Personally, I've never thrown them considering they weren't ever really made and they were older discs. But from what I've heard, they tended to not be very durable and would break easily if thrown into trees, which, while we're not intending to do it, does happen quite often in disc golf. So what this tells me is twofold. Firstly, having popular and relevant players pushing and marketing your discs likely does have a big influence on their sales and their use within the disc golf community. And secondly, MVP must be doing something right to make their discs as durable as they are. They also were the first to do it, and it has become their identity and what sets them apart from a lot of other disc golf manufacturers. Now, as a disc golfer, I was pretty amazed by the level of almost professionalism of everything at MVP. I know that a lot of other manufacturing companies in other areas would probably have the same level of technology, etc. But it's just not something that I ever really associated with disc golf companies for some reason. When you watch the video, the MVP stamp is on everything. Every piece of equipment has their logo, which makes it look very professional. It's almost like a lab for discs, which I guess makes sense. Also, every person who was introduced in the video was a professional in their area. It seemed, at least, that MVP specifically hired different professionals to be part of their company and help them produce the highest quality discs possible. Now, given that we hadn't seen really any of the disc manufacturing process online before, to see MVP's fully automated process was kind of mind-blowing. From the drying, to the injection molding, to the trimming, to the weighing, all fully automated, no humans involved. Which might explain why their discs are known to be of such high quality. They are known to have incredible quality control and possibly the most consistent production of discs of any disc golf company. That is, minimal differences between discs of the same mold. For example, you could go to a company like Innova and pick up 2 destroyers and they might feel and fly completely different to each other, although they are the same mold. Now, while there are going to be small differences between discs in any company, that's just how things work. I haven't really heard of there being significant differences between MVP discs. I could be wrong though, so feel free to correct me in the comments. Speaking of molds, this may be of no surprise to some of you, but it was fascinating to see that they can basically take the top of one mold, combine it with the bottom of another mold, and basically see what it creates. Other companies can obviously do this as well. It's not unique to MVP. And we actually saw Discraft do it not long ago, maybe a year or 2 ago, when they put out the Zone Battle Packs. They used the bottom zone mold and then combined it with either the Ringer GT or Banger GT top to create a kind of combo disc that they put out into production. And it's interesting to see that, you know, are manufacturers doing this at the moment? Could they be doing it more? Is it how they're coming up with new molds? And I'd actually be really curious to know. Comment down below, what would be your combination for top mold of a certain disc and the bottom of another? I'm not sure what that would create, but let me know down below what you think you would want to see. Now, two things that I was very impressed by in terms of the production that happens at MVP and the manufacturing process. It all comes down to their technology. The sensors that were everywhere that were basically triggers letting the robots know when to do certain things, when to pick up the disc, come in and take it, put it somewhere else. Okay, then that triggers another thing. Sensors everywhere, which obviously makes the process fully automated. It was just wild to see. And I know robots are probably used in production in many other places and areas, but to see it happening and how it picks it up and everything is so perfectly aligned and programmed, absolutely incredible. The second thing is the laser marking of the weight on each disc. I found this incredibly fascinating. The robot picks up the disc, places it on the scale, and it gets weighed, and then the laser engraves, it's not really engraving, the laser marks or burns that weight onto the underside of the disc. When it's done, the robot picks it up and places it somewhere else. That was fascinating to me, and I'm not sure if many other companies are using an automated or robotic process for their discs. For example, if we look at Discraft, it's come off here, but they have these little stickers on the inside of the rim that just have a sticker of the weight. It might say 171 to 172 grams. And I would guess that it's not fully automated because it's not ever in a consistent spot on each disc. So what that tells me potentially is that there is a person who has a scale and they place the disc on the scale weighing each individual disc. They then put the respective weight sticker on that disc and then put it off into a pile or somewhere. So then all the 171s are together, all the 177 pluses are together, or the lower weights are together as well. Potentially. I don't know otherwise what would explain the different placing of the stickers on the disc, but thinking about that, how much more time consuming that is versus what MVP's process is, and also the accuracy as well. Incredible, crazy difference. But finally, what does this video mean for disc golf in general and disc golf moving forward? Firstly, it certainly raises many questions as to what other companies' disc manufacturing process is like. MVP is one of the leading manufacturers, but other companies like Innova and Discraft have been around for much longer and were the first in the disc manufacturing business. Do these companies also use robots and the same level of technology as MVP? Are MVP doing all they can? Or are other companies doing something different, maybe even better? Or are they doing it on an even larger scale? MVP clearly weren't worried about others finding out about their process, I guess because they figured it could be reverse engineered and figured out, which is why they were so willing to show it. It just raises some very interesting questions as to, is this the gold standard? Are companies doing even more? Or is MVP really, really pushing the sport forward in terms of what they've got? We just don't know. And that's what and I know many other disc golfers after this would love to see from other companies. They'd love to see, what are they doing? What does their production look like? Is it on an even bigger scale? We don't know. But we've got to assume that the bigger companies are doing similar things at least in order to keep up with demand. The reason I think that the Smarter Everyday video could be bad news for other companies is that anyone who watches the video who wasn't first a disc golfer associates disc golf with MVP. Therefore, when they go to buy their first disc golf disc, they try to buy MVP. Now, MVP doesn't have discs in sporting goods stores in America, for example. Innova has that. But investing money and resources into this collaboration is definitely a unique way of advertising that we haven't seen before in disc golf. When you hear the story and the passion behind something, it's hard not to buy into what they're doing. That's where I think the power lies for MVP in this collaboration and is what they can capitalize on. I know when disc golf gets outside the little disc golf bubble, like getting on ESPN, or if another celebrity or professional athlete is seen playing disc golf, we tend to freak out a little bit. And maybe it doesn't actually have as much significance as we think. Is this collaboration another case of that? I think the true answer to that question remains to be seen, and we may never know, but MVP may see an increased demand for their plastic. Based on the number of views this video got and continues to get, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I've even seen some comments saying that they are going to go straight away and make a purchase from MVP's site, or they're going to put more MVP in their bag after watching the video. I'm telling you, the passion of Brad, Chad, and the whole MVP staff for what they do was on full display in this video and was contagious. I have almost no doubt that it is going to lead to more people purchasing their product. I'm really interested to see whether other large companies will invest in a YouTube collaboration like this in the future. Or will they still just rely on their team, their market share in stores, or their celebrity ambassadors to push their discs forward? MVP has certainly taken a very different and unique route, which no doubt has other companies paying close attention. But having said all this, the biggest thing for me came right at the end of the video. Destin tells the viewers that MVP asked for nothing in return for sponsoring the video. Nothing. No plugging of their site or where to buy their discs. In fact, he did that for them in the comments. All they wanted was to tell more people about the sport of disc golf and get more people playing it. Wow, that's amazing. Despite this, now I want to hear from all of you. What do you think MVP will gain from this, if anything? Will it quote unquote pay off for them? And should other companies be thinking about promoting their brand in this way as well, appealing to YouTube audiences outside of disc golf? Will we see any other companies pull back the curtain on their disc manufacturing process in the future? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I hope you've had a wonderful day. Make sure you make it great for somebody else as well, and we'll catch you in the next one.